Assembled into the family of Youth Build, how important this moment is to recognize. When I saw John Kerry earlier this morning when he got out of the car, I wanted to say to him, do you know how cold it was in New Hampshire? For all of us. This is really a seismic moment. And I want to say something about legislative skill before I talk about the Secretary's responsibilities. In Massachusetts, we're used to having senators who run for president. Jack Kennedy, John Kerry, Paul Tsongas, Ted Kennedy. These are individuals that command presence in the United States Senate. And it's very hard, I know, with the media today because of limitations on space to explain what that means so that we might distill that information successfully to the American people. Most of what is done in the United States Senate or in the House of Representatives is pretty unglamorous. It's sitting in a room day after day, trying to find a path forward, trying to find an element of common ground. But in the end, knowing when that voice is offered, people say, geez, that makes some sense. Some years ago, I was trying to recount it last evening as I prepared for this morning. Some years ago, I think I was sitting next to President George Bush Jr. at a luncheon. And he said to me in a moment of candor, first of all, he said, how am I doing in Massachusetts? And, you know, I just laughed and he laughed. He said, that's what I thought. And then he said to me, in a moment of rare candor, he said, I've always liked tangling with you guys from Massachusetts. He said, because I always felt when I tangled with you guys, I've tangled with the best. That's what happens with skill. It's the skill of the surgeon's hands. It's the skill of the argument that the lawyer makes at the end. It's the principal, it's the teacher, it's the advocate. We know who the good teachers are, we know who the good attorneys are, we know who the good doctors are. We know people who do good things with great skill and high command every single day. Think of it. In the United States Senate, we've had John Kerry and Ted Kennedy. That's an extraordinary acknowledgement. And the members of the House, unparalleled. I've always said, put now the 11 of us in the room with California or Texas, we're going to do fine. Yeah. We're going to do fine. And I'd also would say today this. When you talk, as Mayor Sarno did, about the apex of a career achievement, when I met John earlier this morning, I said, you know, this is great. You've trained and auditioned for this job for a long time because you did a great job as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Skill. What an honor it is for me, because our careers have been parallel. And here's a guy who in the next few days is going to be laying out a plan in Egypt, speaking about Syria, talking about events that are internationally scoped. But at the same time, whether it was John Kerry or Ted Kennedy, when I called them about Union Station, I got a call back. I'm on it. Remember, the House passes a version of legislation, the Senate passes a version. When the House passes it, you get it over to the Senate, then you have to call John or Ted, and you simply say to them, keep an eye on this. And you know what? Every single time, not only did they keep an eye on it, you got a call back, and we were successful. What an honor it is for me today. What a privilege it is for me today, on his last day, officially as a member of the United States Senate, but also to introduce to you the Secretary of State, the face of America in foreign capitals now for the next 4 years, my friend, John Kerry.